up, everybody? Adam here. This is the Ferment Podcast, but of course you know that because you clicked on the link. And today I'm in Houston with my friend Nicole Topete.
Yes.
Did I say that right?
Topete.
Dude, I tried.
So you're close. You were very
Topete.
close. Yep.
I'm getting there, y'all. What up, Nicole?
Hey, it's good to be here.
Okay, so why don't we do this? Just tell everybody what you do at Vineyard Worship. You're like the newest hire.
I am.
Yeah.
So I'm Nicole Topete, and I have been on the Vineyard Worship team as the digital marketing coordinator since June 2023.
Yeah, right
so not
before-
even a year.
Right before the national conference. We
Yep.
just threw you in the hottest fire.
Yep. Baptism by fire.
Yeah, that's so great. Well, number one, welcome to the team.
Thank you.
Number two, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
And number three, welcome to Houston.
Yeah. Gloomy Houston.
Gloomy.
Really cold on the first couple days.
Dude, I know, huh? Yeah. We got here, and apparently it was an ice storm.
But there wasn't.
But
Right.
I don't know. The Houstonians?
Yep.
I don't know how you say that. They were concerned.
Yeah.
They were very concerned. Anyhow, what does it mean to be the digital marketing coordinator? What is that? I don't even know what that is.
It's really just a fancy title, I think.
Yeah,
but
it sounds great. It's great on your CV.
My job is fun. I will say that. I love my job. It's weird to call it a job because it doesn't feel like a job. But all that means is I basically am in charge of social media. So in charge of posting, in charge of like content scheduling, creating some stuff, writing some stuff, sending some emails. That's kind of it right now.
Yeah, well, and then even yesterday we were doing that big brainstorming meeting.
Yep.
And you were helping me get my brain around the podcast for the next year.
Yeah.
And you're giving me themes.
Yeah.
I was like, guys, give me themes. Give me themes. And you
then
had
I was
some
like,
good stuff.
well,
That was
maybe.
great.
Yeah, there's a couple things on my mind. So I think it's just cool to be a part of a team that is open to new ideas, and we're growing. We're small, but we're mighty.
That's right. Totally true.
Small but mighty.
Well, yeah. So what that means is if you're listening to this podcast and, you follow us maybe on the socials, either on Insta or on Facebook or whatever, when you see something, you know that Nicole did it.
That's me.
That's what I was wanting to get across.
Yeah. If you're tagging Vineyard Worship in your Instagram stories, that's me who's resharing.
Yes.
Retweeting your tweets, liking your Facebook comments, seeing your stories, that's probably us.
And if you're listening to this podcast and you're not following us on the socials,
You should.
like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe,
Please.
Share, comment, repost, do all the things.
Yeah, tell us all about it. Okay.
Yep.
Nicole, well, the point of all this podcast is, man, this is just, I'm going to put this in the classic ferment, which is, we just want to know your story because you and I were talking a moment ago. Everyone who listens to this, I mean, they've heard me, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And they've heard Melissa and they've heard Mike. And
But you guys all have great voices. So
we're okay.
it's not bad to listen to your guys' voice.
I think everybody does really well. I really do. I'll have to give this little shout out. I think Melissa has such great energy on the podcast.
She does. She just has like a great communicator voice.
Yeah, I'm always, every time I hear it, I'm like, she is great at this.
Right.
Yeah. But people don't know you. It's not just that they haven't heard you, but maybe they don't know your story.
Totally.
And as I've gotten to know you over the last year, it's you've got a really cool story. So why don't you just tell us, who are you? Where are you from? What has happened in your life? I mean, I don't know. Start anywhere you want and we'll just see where it goes, right?
Well, I think I always like to start. It's a funny start, but I'm born and raised from Arizona.
Yeah.
So I'm an Arizona native, but I'm a proud Chicana. So that means I'm Mexican American.
Yes.
And I'm currently living in Mexico City with my husband.
Whoa.
So it's a weird journey that got me there.
You were born in America.
I was born in America.
Your parents are Mexican.
My parents are Mexican. But
now you're in Mexico.
Yeah.
And your parents are where?
In the States.
What?
They're in the States, and it's interesting. Like, I always think about like my grandpa who immigrated from Mexico to the States, like wanting a better life, the whole bit.
Yeah.
And then I don't know if he ever wondered if his granddaughter would have chosen to go to Mexico. He's like, hey, we came from there and you're going back. So anyway, so I'm proud Chicana, but I grew up super Catholic, like could not wear shorts to church, couldn't wear ripped jeans, couldn't wear open-toed shoes, like the whole bit. Did my first communion, did all that.
You did. You were confirmed.
I was confirmed. Actually, I never got to my confirmation.
Oh.
My grandma was always upset about that. I never got my confirmation.
Sorry, Graham.
But I faithfully went. And so I went to our local Catholic church for a while. And then I was a senior in high school, I think. Yeah, it was my senior year in high school. I was part-time high school, part-time cosmetology school.
Yes.
And in cosmetology school, I was telling a friend, like, I like our youth group, but I just like, I can't tell you one thing I'm learning. And we have to pay $60 a month to go to our youth.
What?
And there's no snack. Like, I don't know what those $60 were for.
Yeah.
Like, we never had snacks. And so she was like, that's weird. You should come to our youth group. There's food for free and you don't have to pay anything. And we just hang out. And I was like, that's amazing.
This is a better deal.
Yeah, it's a way better deal. So I ended up going, didn't know anything about the Vineyard. Turns out it was a small Vineyard church plant in Phoenix.
Okay.
Well, really, actually, it's like outskirts of Phoenix. But anyway.
Okay, so stop. Hang on. Time out. Are you like a Phoenix person? You said Arizona. Are you like...
Yeah, Phoenix. So where
always?
I grew up,
your whole life?
pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So I never moved as a kid or anything. Like the house I grew up in was the house that it's always been.
Yeah.
And so I grew up like 30 minutes west of Phoenix in a little town called El Mirage. So that's where the church is. So I went and I was like, this is wild. People are like normal. And I'm like, they're singing. And
what you just said, people are normal. What does that mean to you?
Like, we didn't have to dress up fancy to go to youth group. Because to go to youth group where we were going, or where I was previously going, it's like you had to wear your Sunday best and you had to just show up presentable.
Yes.
Not that I'm unpresentable. But you know what I mean?
No, I get it. Yeah, there was just a cultural expectation of...
Right.
Yeah, you put on your dress.
Exactly.
You take your sandals off.
Right. Yeah. So yeah, I ended up going to that Vineyard for a while. That's when I learned about worship for the first time.
Okay. How old were you?
17.
Yeah. Okay.
16, 17.
And what did worship feel like or mean to you?
I had no idea what it was. Literally, I sat down that night. Well, first we like ate and everything, did the whole cool youth group thing. And then we sat down and we're like, okay, we're going to worship, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just looking at my friend like, what is this? Like, what do you mean we're going to worship? And then Oceans comes on.
Yeah.
So they start singing Oceans and I'm just like, instantly like my heart starts racing because I'm like, this feels so familiar, but what is this? You know, like I grew up in our church choir and I remember they used to tell us like, okay, once we get to this line, you're going to raise your hand like this, like in a worship position, like
yes,
in a response to worship. Yeah. But I didn't know that at the time. I was just like, why do we have to raise our hand? Okay. And then I'm in this new youth group and everybody's like raising their hand and like swaying back and forth. And I'm like, what? Like, this is just not. So that was my introduction to worship.
Oceans, baby.
Yep.
And even now, when you hear Oceans.
Yep. You know.
That's a very millennial story, by the way.
I think so.
That's so
just
millennial.
like Oceans in itself.
Yeah. That feels so millennial. Good for you. So, well, then what happened next? I mean.
Yeah. So I fell in love with the church. I mean, I always grew up with like a really clear awareness of who God is and who he was. But at that time when I was transitioning from like Catholicism to just simply following Jesus, I was like, oh, this is personal. And like, I don't need to go through other avenues to try and find God, you know? Yes. And so I really fell in love with the church. I fell in love with like volunteering and serving and stuff like that. And so shortly after graduating high school, my friend who had introduced me to that youth group, she was like, hey, there's this really great program called HLI. Like, you should go. And I was like, oh, I don't know. Like, I kind of can't like move out until I'm like married, because that's like the cultural like standard, you know, like it's kind of shameful at least in the culture that I grew up. It's like, you don't need to leave the house unless you're married. Like, why would you leave the house? Yeah. And so when I brought up this idea to my grandparents were the ones who raised me. Sorry, that's like going a little back. Okay. They raised me mainly with my dad. My parents got divorced when I was 3. And so I grew up with my grandma as like my mom. Yeah. And so when I first told her about this, she was like, there's no way in hell. You're not going to this. You're not leaving the house. Yeah. And so, but anyway, ended up going like a couple years after I found out what HLI was. So I went to HLI in Kansas City, 2016 to 17. And that's when I was kind of introduced to like the broader Vineyard movement. Because I was like, what is this? I just know I go to a Vineyard, but I don't really know like what this means.
So this was really your initiation.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you had your church, but that sense that the Vineyard is bigger than a local spot in Arizona. There's other vineyards. There's even like a theological worldview. There's a whole history.
Totally. Yeah. So I went to CosCon in KC, I think it was 2016.
Bro, I was there.
You're right. And that's when I remember seeing you for the first time.
I was there.
I had no idea who you were, but I was like, when I found out about you later and then now working with you, I was like, that was the guy at CosCon.
I was there. I was there.
I was like
okay.
20 years old. Yeah.
That is so funny.
Yeah.
What a cool thing. I love stories when I find out that I was in a room with someone and we didn't know and now we know each other.
Right.
I know it's not woo-woo, but it feels special to me. Like I like those little moments.
It's very interesting.
Yeah, it's like, oh, that's a weird thing.
Totally.
Very cool. Okay, so then you do HLI and then what happens? Because, you love the church, you love God, you've done this adventure. You're kind of like busting through cultural norms.
Totally.
Then what are you doing? Are you thinking like, I don't know what to do with my life. I want to serve the church. What's in your brain?
I mean, I think something that really woke up for me at CosCon, I think that was probably some of the most experiential moments I had with God early in my faith was at CosCon. And I really didn't know what to expect. Like I'd never been to a church conference thing. And I always grew up feeling like not a burden, but like what I now know is like a compassionate heart, like a heart that burns for compassion and justice. And so I was at CosCon 2016, right before HLI, and I went to a Vineyard Justice breakout. And that Vineyard Justice breakout, I honestly can't tell you, I don't remember what the breakout was around. I just know it was like Vineyard Justice. And we're sitting in this like little circle in this room in this church in Kansas City. And they just start praying and they're like, okay, Holy Spirit, come, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like sitting, mind you, like I don't know about like prophetic visions. I don't know about like.
Yeah, you're green.
Yeah, I'm like super, super baby. And I'm sitting there and I just feel like my heart's like beating out of my chest. And I turned to my friend and I was like, I think I'm going to throw up. Like I don't feel good. Or it wasn't that I was feeling good. I was like overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh, I think that's what they say. Like that's the Holy Spirit. And I was like, no.
So your friend is also green. She's
actually not.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah.
I just love the way you phrase it. I think that's what they say. The Holy Spirit. I love that. I love that idea. That you're both like, I don't know.
Yeah. And so she was like, she grew up in the church and she knew of it.
Yeah, but she was a bit more discerning. She's like, no, you're not throwing up.
She was
you're
like, no, you're okay.
This is great.
Right. And then so I closed my eyes and the only way I can explain it was like felt like Jesus just put this like blank canvas over my eyes and gave me this picture of like my dad, but it's like what my dad represented for me to understand God's heart in that moment, I think, if that makes sense. My dad like as a homeless man, like on the corner of a street, and he's happy, like he's like joyful and he looks content in his circumstances, but he's homeless and he has a cup. And he's like asking for money or he like has a sign that says like, I just want a piece of bread or something like that.
Yeah.
And in that moment, it like I think about that even right now. And I'm like, my heart starts flickering because it was like Jesus breaking my heart.
Yes.
And I think he used my dad to like in that vision to kind of get me to understand, like, I love these people so much. Like you love your dad so much. Just imagine how much more I do. Right. Just imagine how much more I love this dude on the street.
That's right.
And so all that is to say, I think that was really an opening for like my heart and calling for justice in a way and advocacy and exercising a compassionate heart. And then I kind of just paid attention to it a little bit.
I love that. One of the things I've learned over the years is these stories are very important. And the things that the Holy Spirit does into and through a person at the beginning of their faith journey, especially when they're like teenagers,
right?
It's like really important,
right?
Yeah, and you have to hold those stories dear because they oftentimes end up being the themes of our lives. You know?
Yeah.
It's all that stuff that's there in the beginning. It just kind of doesn't go away.
It has not gone away.
What a cool story.
Yeah.
So then what happens? Because now you're in Mexico City.
Yeah.
Like, there's like some
a
things
big leap.
there.
Yeah.
What happens?
So I finished CosCon and I'm just kind of like, what did I experience? But it was beautiful, but it's confusing. Went to HLI, finished HLI, then moved back to Arizona because HLI is only 9 months.
Yeah.
Went back to Arizona, was kind of just like super discontent, but not because I chose to be discontent. I was just like, I just don't feel right being here. I love my city, but I just don't feel like this is it. And later, like, long story short, some friends had just moved to Colorado and they were part of a church down in northern Colorado. And they were kind of like, why don't you come out? And I was like, no, I'm not going to move again. And I need a reason to move. I'm not just going to move. And then I really felt like Jesus like truly opened an invitation to go. And I said yes. And then I was in Colorado for a couple years.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Love that community. Love Colorado in general.
Yeah.
The mountains.
How can you not?
I don't know anybody who doesn't like Colorado.
Yeah, even on the bad days, the sun is out.
It has like 100 sunny days in a row or something. More than that, like 300 sunny days.
Yeah, no, I mean,
know.
it's like, I don't know if this is true, but this is what the Colorado people always tell me.
Yeah.
They're like, it's sunnier in Denver than it is in LA.
Oh my God.
That's what they say. And
I don't know if that's true.
That could be a lie. I don't know.
It could be a lie.
It could be Denver hype.
But I lived in northern Colorado and it's beautiful. So I really loved it there. And then the pandemic came.
Yes.
So it's 2020 and I had just signed a lease for a new apartment in downtown northern Colorado. And a couple days later really felt like God was like, it's time to go home. And I was like, no, like I literally just signed a lease that I felt like you said was green lighted to sign. And he's like, no, like I really need you to go home. And I was like, I'm just tripping. So I'm just going to like let that go. But again, this is early pandemic. And couple days after that, got a call that like my grandma wasn't doing great, grandpa wasn't doing great, and I was like, okay,
I need to go home.
I need to go home. And it was like not the easiest decision at all, but I just knew that I
How'd you get out of the lease?
I just lost my deposit.
Ah, dang it. I was hoping you were going to tell me. And they were compassionate on me. And they were like, yes, go to your grandma, go to your grandpa.
I totally
They're like, we're
wish.
keeping your deposit.
Yeah. They
Bye.
were like, sorry, this is why that's the point of deposits, right?
It is. I was just hoping they were like, we love your grandma and we love your grandpa too. Please go.
That would have been great. But so I drove back to Arizona in like the middle of the night, 2 days later with all my stuff. It was like really intense, but I knew as much as I hated it, that Jesus was like, it's time to go.
Yeah.
And so I went, and then I was in Arizona. This is very like long story short, by the way.
No, I like it. I love it. Yeah, there's a lot of things.
Totally.
Yeah, you stopped on the road. You went to a Buc-ee's.
Exactly.
There's other things that happen.
And so, yeah, I got to Arizona. I was there probably less than a year because, I mean, we're mid-pandemic. Vaccines were just rolling out. And I was kind of like, now what do I do? Yeah. Like, I loved my community in northern Colorado, loved where I was serving, loved everything about it. And now I was like, well, I'm starting over, sort of. Like, because it was a pandemic. Nobody knew what was going on or how long it was going to last. We were just kind of like, we're in this thing. And then I was talking more often to a friend who's now my husband. Yeah. Who, yeah, I mean, I don't know if you want to back up there.
Yeah, where'd you meet your husband? Did you get him on the side of the road?
No, I did not pick him up on the way to Colorado.
Yeah, on the way to Colorado? Like, what happened?
So, interesting enough, my best friend, I met her 2016 in CosCon. So I met her literally the week of CosCon, and she met my husband like 3 weeks before me. She got really close to him and stayed in contact because she was in HLI also. And then they went to Mexico City for their missions trip, where she met my husband. My husband's from Mexico City.
Ah, there we go. This is
the connection. Yeah. And so they stayed in contact. And then when I moved to Colorado, she was also there. And so we were like obviously hanging out all the time. And she was like, hey, I have this friend. He speaks Spanish, but he speaks a little bit of English, sort of. And I need help translating something, like about a song or something. She's like, can you help me? And I was like, yeah. And so she gave me her phone, and I was talking to him, but through her account on Instagram.
Got it.
Good old millennial story as well.
This is so millennial. Yeah.
And then
met my husband on Instagram.
Yep. And then he says that I was joking around with him a lot and like being a good time. And I was like, I don't remember that, but that's his story. Yes. My story is I was professional and like answered the stories or whatever whatever she needed.
You were joking. You were joking around. I believe your husband.
And then he found me coincidentally like a week later on Facebook and sent me a friend request and was like, hey, are you so-and-so's friend who helped me translate? And I was like, yeah, that's me. And he was like, oh, cool. Like, what do you do? Blah, blah, blah. And so by the way, this moment where me and my best friend are driving to Kansas City because we're going to Godspeed conference in 2018, I think it was 2019. And we're driving, she's passenger, and I kept getting these Facebook notifications. I was like, dude, this is annoying me. Can you erase them or open it, see who it is? She was like, oh my gosh, this is him, and he's gonna love you, and he's gonna fall in love, and you guys are gonna get married. I was like, who are you talking about?
You're like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Wait a minute.
I have no idea who you're talking about. And she was like, nope, I already know. He thinks you're beautiful. You guys are gonna fall in love, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, let me just see who this guy is. So that's how we met, technically.
Yeah.
And so we kept in contact, and then like mid-pandemic, which would have been like late summer, early fall 2020, he's like, hey, we should like FaceTime. And then it was like every single day the homie was FaceTiming me. And I was like, this is how you know.
Yes, this is how you know.
Yeah. And so
you were answering.
I was answering because we were in the pandemic.
You weren't declining.
No, I was not declining. Yeah. So we talked like every day through FaceTime. And then I had wanted to go to Mexico City at some point after having been in Colorado for a little bit, just to like go hang out because I'd never been. And it never happened because of the pandemic. But then entering into 2021, I was like, well, I would love to go for my birthday. And I was like, well, you're going to be there. And he's like, yeah, I'll show you around, blah, blah. And he picked me up from the airport. And it's one of those neat things where you're just like, I can't look at your face because this is so awkward in the sense that like there's so much tension and we know there's something here, but we don't really know what to do with it.
Yeah, we haven't named it yet.
We haven't named it. But
you're just traipsing around Mexico City.
Yeah. But like not even 24 hours later, he asked me to be his girlfriend. Because we knew like, okay, there's something here, but we've never met in person. I don't know if your breath stinks. I don't know how you drive. How are you in traffic? Like, there's just things you don't know until you're in person.
Right.
And so we always said like, we're having boundaries. Like we're not flirting or anything, but when we get in person, you never know. And so that's when we were like, the minute we sat in the Uber, we're like, this is it. Like we're screwed.
Okay. So where did you go? Where did you go in Mexico City? Where was your first date?
Our first date was at this place called Café Nin.
Café Nin?
Café Nin, N-I-N.
Sounds awesome. What is it?
It is beautiful. It's a pastry shop that's based off, it's tied to the restaurant who has the best chef in the world, was named best chef in the world right now. Panaderia Rosetta is the restaurant. Dude. So Café Nin is like a little cafe.
It's like their daytime thing.
Yeah, right. Like a daytime thing / Panaderia Rosetta is also a daytime thing, but Café Nin is like, if you want something more chill and quick and a little bit cheaper, you go there. Yeah. So that was our first date.
Amazing. Yeah. And I know that you guys have like a food Instagram.
We do have a food Instagram.
Say something about that.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so this is also funny. I always said I wanted to marry a foodie. I didn't know to like what level that could get to, but my husband is like, he's a drummer.
Yes.
If he wouldn't have been called to be a drummer, he would have been a chef.
Like maybe he's both.
I think he's both.
He might be both.
Because I don't cook. He cooks. So
he might be both.
I think he's both. Yeah. So he's the guy that like knows the city like the back of his hand, knows all the good places.
Did he grow up in Mexico City?
He did. Yeah.
Oh man.
He's Mexico City native.
Oh man.
And he just loves food. He loves experiences, loves coffee.
And there's a lot.
There's so much.
I mean, Mexico City is enormous.
It's 5th largest city in the world.
But it's also, there's like Michelin stars there.
Yeah. It's huge.
Yeah, it's just insane.
So it's endless. Like I probably only know a quarter of what it really has to offer. Maybe like 50%. All that is to say, we started a food Instagram.
What's it called?
Mexa-Taste.
Mexa-Taste?
Yeah. Technically on Instagram, it's mexa.taste. So if you want to check out Mexico City food.
Please like and subscribe, follow.
And so now part of our job, which is crazy, I would have never thought it would be a job, is we get paid to go eat and review places and post them. And so we're on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook.
What a cool thing, though.
Yeah.
You know what I love about that too is that you could actually spend your whole life just documenting Mexico City.
Totally.
And never get to the end.
I don't think so. And it just keeps getting better. Like truly.
Yeah. Okay, so you brought me some coffee once. What was that? Let's just shout them out.
Yes.
What was that? Because it was great.
Okay. So
I'm a coffee person.
Yeah.
I'm a wine person. I'm a food person.
Totally.
Yeah.
So that coffee is from it's in Emma and I's opinion. My husband's name is Emmanuel. Sorry, I should have said that.
Yeah.
Emmanuel, but everybody calls him Emma. So Emma and I's favorite coffee in Mexico City is called Avellaneda. And they have won a ton of coffee awards, like they're notable. They're one of the best, but to Emma and I, it's like the best. And so coffee we gave you guys and the rest of the Vineyard worship team was Hiribia, which is what they carry at Avellaneda.
It just was awesome.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And I just love this thought that there's this coffee shop in Mexico City that I never think of.
Yeah.
I didn't even know it was there.
Yep.
And then it shows up in my house one day and it just slaps your face. It's so good.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, so what does everybody need to know about Mexico City?
Everybody needs to know about Mexico City that everybody drives crazy, but you'll be okay.
You'll be fine.
You'll be fine.
Just go with it.
Just take a breath.
Yes.
Because if you've never been and you get in an Uber, you're like, I'm going to die.
Yes.
Like, this is bad. But people know how to do it, so they'll be fine. Also, there's always something to do, something to see, somewhere to go. It's never ending.
Yes.
Truly.
What's the best time of year to go to Mexico City?
I would say winter. I
Winter.
really love the winter. Or late fall.
Okay.
Late fall is beautiful.
Does it get hot in the summer?
It does get hot.
Okay,
Annoyingly hot.
Yeah, and what is it like in the winter?
It's perfect, like 50s, 60s. Right now it's in the 70s.
Oh,
It's
man.
beautiful.
Yeah.
There's breeze all the time because there's a bunch of trees.
And
in
it's
the
high
city.
altitude, right?
Yeah, like 7,000 something feet.
Oh, it's higher than Denver, so it's like get your red blood cells ready.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then what's the culture of the city or what's the vibe?
Right now, it's unfortunately really gentrified. It's getting really gentrified. But with that, I think it's becoming really diverse in taste, in landscape, in a lot of different things. So I think it's evolving really beautifully. People are just receptive to it in different ways.
Okay, so when you say the word diverse, what does diverse mean in a Mexican context?
And in Mexican context, meaning that not all the food is Mexican.
Yeah.
Not all the stores are only Mexican like supply.
Who else is there? Are the Japanese there?
The Japanese are there.
Yeah.
Korean friends are there.
Yeah. So you could go get Korean barbecue in Mexico City.
And it is delicious.
Does it do weird things? Like, does Mexican culture do weird things to Korean barbecue?
Some,
You know what I mean? And I use the word weird like in a good way,
Totally.
not pejorative, but like
Right.
the weird things that happen when cultures just get around each other and then all of a sudden it's like fusion.
Totally.
And a thing happens that couldn't happen any other
Yeah.
way.
So there's a couple restaurants that are like Japanese Mexican infusion. So you can get Mexican sushi anywhere. Like any Mexican sushi place is just common there.
Yeah.
But there's also like specialty Japanese Mexican fusion restaurants that are so delicious and you would never think to fuse those flavors, but they work.
Oh, I
So,
love this already.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay. So what are you guys going to do? Like you going to I don't know, you going to become food critics?
I don't know. We're in this really interesting place we just got married 2022. So we're newlyweds
Fresh.
technically. Yeah.
Fresh.
We're newborn married people. And we don't really know what the future holds right now. We just kind of have been dreaming since day one. And we know that at some point we want to get to the States with Emma's residency because he's never been. So I'm excited for that time when he gets to come. But we are really both passionate about emotional health and creativity. We both love the church dearly, and we also love food. So maybe there's like a fusion in there, like some mix.
Dude, see, I'm just wondering if that's not like a theme. That metaphor of Japanese Mexican fusion.
Right.
I'm wondering if there's not a mix here.
Yeah.
For like love God, love food, worship, drums, and creativity.
Yep. All of it.
I want, like, why do you have to give it up? Like,
Right.
what if you just did it all, Nicole?
Right. I think maybe.
What if you just did it all? Like, what if you served the church and you guys did food and drums and worship?
Right. It's possible.
It is possible. I think that might even be the Lord. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. We're both very passionate about worship. That's something like for him since he was a child, for me since
Oceans.
Stop. Since I heard Oceans.
Yes.
Since I heard Oceans, I was like, yes, for
Yes.
life. No, truly, like, since I started following Jesus, I think like, when I think about our story, like, the story between the Lord and I think about how worship has just sustained me through so much and how worship has now been part of sustaining hard parts in our marriage and helped carry us in really joyful, beautiful moments. It's just, worship is forever. And so that's been, I think, a theme for both of us as individuals, but it's cool to see it now as a married couple.
Amen.
How it's coming together.
I love that.
Yeah.
I totally love that. Well, okay. Killer story. so fun. And I hope people will check out your food Instagram. I know I've perused it. It's just super fun.
It's endless.
You guys are good editors too. It's like really fun.
That's really all my husband.
That's really fun. I love it.
He's the guy that gets all that done.
I love it. Wait, listen. When he comes to the States, you'll have to do that here too.
We will. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I just think that would be super fun.
Yeah.
You know?
That's part of why we chose the name Mexitaste, because it's like that'll apply in England. It can apply in Dubai. It can apply in the States. It can apply anywhere.
Yeah, totally. I love that.
Yeah.
Well, what do you want to say to Vineyard worship leaders or just the crew that's listening now? Anything that we haven't already said?
Yeah. I mean, I think if we're thinking about worship, and I'm thinking about people who lead weekends in and out all the time, how important your authentic and really precious relationship with Jesus is. Like how that is so, like, if there's any priority list, that's number one. Keeping your precious relationship with him as authentic and genuine and consistent as possible. I think that without it, I don't know how far we can get. And so I feel like we really need to treasure our relationship with him. Amen. And then out of that, we get to help usher other people into worship.
Amen. I love that. And it actually has the added benefit of being true.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're also the social person here.
I am.
What do you want to say to Vineyard worship leaders on Instagram?
On Instagram.
Yeah. What do you want them to do that we can repost?
I want them to...
What do you want to see?
Yeah.
What do we want to see?
I want to see, I feel like we want to see, I think I can speak for us.
Yeah.
Really great songs continuing to come out.
Yes.
Really great songs continuing to come out. Really genuine moments of worship that can be captured, and we can share that. And I feel like it's so interesting living in this digital world right now, because I feel like there's so many people that we can reach that we've never been able to reach before. Right. Yeah. So it's like,
well, and I just want to say this, since we're talking about that thing that you're saying, we can see things or share things that we couldn't have shared any other way in the digital space. I mean, the digital space is not everything, right? But it is something.
It's a big part. Yeah.
It's huge. I so love it when Vineyard worship leaders post like little 30-second or 45-second clips of some cool moment from their church.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
I love getting to see it. And I feel the Lord in it. And I also just feel this sense of strange community.
Right.
Like sometimes I'll see a little post that maybe the guys and gals over at like Laguna Niguel will post. They sometimes make these like really cool little videos. Like they're short, like 45 seconds.
Right.
And I just love those. Yeah. I'm like, I wish I could see more of those.
Totally.
Because there's hundreds of Vineyard churches.
Right.
So I would love to see more of those.
Right.
Tag Vineyard Worship in them.
Tag Vineyard Worship.
Nicole will repost it.
Yes. Share your set list. Share anything from your church's Sunday mornings or Saturday nights. There's a lot of Saturday night churches.
There are. Show us your youth group.
Yeah. We want to see what your youth groups are singing. We want to see what your kids are singing. Like all that stuff is really great. And we want to showcase it.
Very cool. Nicole, thanks for popping on the pod.
Thank you.
Dude, we'll have you back. We'll do some other talking.
Yeah.
Maybe next time we can just have Emma in here and let's do Mexitaste on the podcast.
Lord Jesus, please.
I know. I just want to talk food and wine with your homie.
Yep.
All right, y'all.
See ya.
Peace.
Hey everyone, Casey Corum here, producer of the podcast. Thanks for listening. As always, if you've been enjoying the podcast, here's a few ways you can help us. First of all, leave us a review on the podcast platform of your choice. This helps more people find us. Also, connect with us on social media. Instagram at The Ferment Podcast and Twitter at FermentCast. All right, everyone, thanks for listening. See you next week. Peace.